Hey guys, Bryce here. So I wanted to walk you through the process of how to start an accounting business from home, but I want to build this video with you so you can come along with me as I'm planning out the accountant for this. One thing that's been very important to me this year is figuring out new ways to make the content more engaging, whether that's I want to play around with the length of time of the video, I want to play around with the depth of information, I want to talk about different types of information as well. So number one, like I oftentimes want to go like as deep in the video as I possibly can and go into minute details, but I know that not every single person like watching this channel will watch a video like that. So now I'm working on like condensing some of it. So I think what I'm going to do moving forward is I'm going to have some open videos that are a little bit longer. I'm going to have some condensed videos a little bit shorter. And just in case you don't know who I am, my name is Bryce Tubbs, and I started my bookkeeping and accounting business back in 2015. It took me a little while to hit my stride inside the business, but by month 17, I was doing 17 to 18K a month in sales for bookkeeping and CFO services. This video channel is basically made so you don't have to go through a lot of the struggles that I went through when I first got started. Now, for this video specifically, you're going to learn the thought process, like the more detailed thought process behind how to start the business from home. Now, in the video I'm going to make from as a result of this video, it's going to be a little bit more tight, but this is going to actually kind of give you more of the unfiltered thoughts that I think when I'm building this stuff out. Because sometimes there's stuff that I like have to either remove or have to simplify, and this can help you get an understanding of it. Let me see. So prerequisites, I'm always thinking, is this part of an overarching series, or will this video title be like a good part to a series? Now, in this particular case, let me turn this light so you guys can see better. In this particular case, I'm just gonna have this be a standalone video, and I want to think about that. Now the cool thing about this is that if you can start your business from home, everything else gets a lot easier. Like, cause starting a business when you're like either local or in person, it's not as challenging as starting it online in a lot of cases. And the reason why is trust, right? So the biggest thing that you have to overcome is the trust barrier of people not knowing who you are, people being like, oh, I don't know if I can work with you. How do I know you're not local? It's not a very hard objection, but every objection is something that kind of is in your way that you have to overcome. So whether it's hard or not, that's irrelevant. It's just the fact that it's there. So a lot of the way that we can overcome that is by like making other content, it's by spreading your brand, it's by becoming better known, it's by letting time take its play and take its toll on people. That's gonna make things exponentially easier. Okay, let's go into like point number one. Let me think this as I'm writing some things through. So in years past, I've been like more focused on like marketing related stuff, but now I'm doing a better mix of stuff, right? I would say that the first thing, and I would pause my screen for a couple minutes, but I would say the first thing is learning how to choose your starter offer. Now, monthly essentials bookkeeping's 500 to 5,000 per month. I'm gonna condense this one. So just like monthly bookkeeping, 500, 5,000 per month. Cleanups are gonna have they're a little bit easier to sell. Yeah, so cleanups are a little bit easier than monthly services are. Why is that sentence? Than monthly. Now, the reason why is because a lot of the times what happens, the business owners, there's like a very acute reasoning or like moment where they're like, hey, I need to get this thing done. Versus with the monthly ongoing stuff, it's not always the case. Think about maybe even like your child at home, where it's if you have a giant, usually when I was growing up, right, my mom used to say if you would clean behind yourself every single time that you use something, then you would never have to do a major cleanup. And that never happened when I was a kid, right? We would clean up a little bit stuff, but it was always like the end of the week, it'd be like, hey, we gotta do this, we gotta clean this, we gotta clean this, we gotta clean this, because we didn't really do any maintenance throughout the week. And a lot of business owners are like that. They know that they should be doing it on a month-to-month basis, but maybe they try for a month, they're just like, oh, I don't like this, or they fall back into old habits. So the cleanup is needed, but they know that there is a mess. So there's a very acute moment to where it's okay, I need to get this thing done. So it's a little bit easier to sell these cleanup packages. Ideally, you want to be charging between about 3,600 to about, there's really no limit. The largest I've seen is about $60,000 for a regular non-enterprise business. Excuse me. Now, how to actually price this stuff out, like we do teach that inside of our mentorship program. And it's a mixture of we give you a pricing calculator, but it's not just about the calculator. It's like learning how you actually communicate that value to the person. Now, one thing that when it comes, let me add this, and this is very important. Pricing is always proportional to the value. Sorry, I'm typing this out as I'm speaking, but this is what you get when you're behind the scenes. So pricing is always proportional to the value. I was talking to a newer student in our mentorship program, and one of the things we do is we work with you through like your QuickBooks file, not just on like your existing clients, but we have a kind of a preparation zone that you can enter before you actually start working with real clients. So it's like bank statements that you can go through and really do it's almost like we help you create two or three or four different sample companies within QuickBooks so that you can have a lot of practice before you have to go to the real thing. I just found that that really helps people like boost people's confidence, which is a big reason why we do that. But she was like, wow, this is like a lot. I was like, yeah, it's a lot. That's what people are paying you for, right? In a lot of cases, when it comes to transactional bookkeeping, the larger the mess, the more the transactions, the more complicated the types of transactions, the more money you're going to make. That's why they can't do it themselves, okay? Really, you want to go after two types of clients. People who can't and people who won't. Okay. So people who can't do it, that's just let's just say that they just don't have the time to do it. It's usually when we talk about time, it needs to be about like can't being a factor of time and slash or focus. Right. So what does that mean? It's not you don't want to like a business owner like skill wise can't necessarily do like maybe they were doing the books like when it was small, but now it's just hey, I just can't do this. I don't have the mental bandwidth to be able to focus on doing the bookkeeping as well. I could do if I wanted to, but I just don't. That's a really important kind of client because they understand like the value of why it's important to do it, but they don't want they can't do it at this moment in time. You don't want someone where it's like they don't have the skill set to do it because yeah, usually a business owner should be able to do like their books in the beginning. It's not always the case, but in a lot of cases, like as the business is bigger and bigger, the business owner is more capable. It's very low likelihood that you're gonna run into a business owner that's doing between 500 to about $2 million per year, where the business owner is very incapable. Surprisingly, as they get larger and larger, sometimes the business owners will get less capable and they just won't have as much financial background. So it does happen, but in a lot of cases, you want to work with an educated client that just can't do it. Now, another thing is the people who won't do it, right? So won't is like they lose money by doing it themselves. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So you want, in a lot of cases, the client where it's, yeah, I could do this, I do have the time, I do have the focus, but it's just gonna lose me money. There are people where it's, let's say that they, every hour they work is about $500 per hour. What's 500 times 20? So let's say that someone's take home is about $1 million, right? And let's say that they're working like 40 hours a week. That's $500 per hour. And let's say for bookkeeping, right? So for in most people's eyes, bookkeeping is going to sell for 18 to 30 an hour. If you're a beginner, we'll still have most inexperienced bookkeepers charge, right? That's no bueno. We don't want to do that. We want to be closer to more of anywhere between 85 to about 150, ideally, right? But you want to turn this into a package. You then turn it into a so this is actually very important. Now, some price. People are saying do everything as a flat monthly amount. Yes, that totally makes sense, but every flat rate breaks down to a number of dollars per unit of time that you're working. I had a student one time and she came in, she was charging 2K per month, but with all the work that she was doing, it ended up being like 18 an hour. Student when she first, yes, she was charging she charged this one client $2,000 a month and ended up being like $18 an hour. And like at first she was like, yeah, this $2,000 client. And like in the span of 5 minutes, she was very like, oh shoot, that's not a lot. And here's the problem. She was working a full-time job, so she was capped income wise because this client was taking up so much of her time. So, okay, so let's say that it's $2,000 divided by $18 per hour. That means she was working 111 hours a month on this. Okay, so think about it. If for your business let's say there's 7 days out of the week. Let's say that Saturday you work 4 hours. Sunday, you have 4 hours. But like M through Friday, you only have like maybe a maximum of 2 hours, right? Let's say your average working person capacity, right? Let's say that, right? So if the average working person's capacity is 4 plus 4 plus 10, 18 hours per week that you have, right? So 111 divided by 18 hours a week. I'm sorry, 111 divided by 4. She would have needed roughly 1.5 times in order to actually keep growing, right? One client, 20. So whenever people talk about this, so if you notice this problem, that means that she literally could not work more because she had a full-time job and she had kids, right? And she's working 27 hours on one client. She was like, I never understand. I feel like I never have time to do marketing. I never have time to do sales. I feel like I'm just being lazy. No, you just have priced this thing incorrectly. If instead you would have priced this thing more at, let's say that it was 111 hours times, let's say $100 per hour, okay, that would be $11,000 for this one client, right? But this client might not have been able to afford that, right? It was a nonprofit client, and you have to be able to really control the type of client you take on. If they are unable or unwilling to pay correctly, sometimes you gotta let them go. So keep this in mind. If you have a full-time job and you're making ends meet, which, if you're watching this video, I hope that you're in that position to where like you're making your ends meet, you're able to put a lot away in savings every single month. I know that's not always the case for every single person watching, but that's my hope and my prayer to you is that you are able to do that, right? But if that's the case, where you're not starving or you're not like in financial distress, you have the opportunity to be a little bit selective with your client. Because if you're not, you're going to get capped. That's why it's called capacity. In this case, she was capped, so she couldn't get to, in order for her to leave her job, she needed about 8 grand a month. She couldn't get to 8 grand a month with the way that's priced, right? So the first thing we had to do was, in her case, we had to restructure the pricing. So we had to get the client closer more like $7,000 a month, right? But again, not every single client is going to let you do that, right? Because they'll be like, you're charging me this, so why should I go up 6 times? You have to have like reasons for that. So in that case, to prevent that, if you are unable to pay or to charge the correct amount to a specific client, like I don't know if I want to pay that, or they just start giving you a bunch of BS, just ditch, just disengage, disengage. It's not about getting more clients. It's about growing revenue optimally. So we can leave, then we can take on then we can take on very differing levels of quality. Then we can do favors and help people. Okay, so this is a very critical sentence. It's not about getting more clients, it's about growing revenue optimally so we can leave our job and then we can help people and do favors. Up until then, if you're still working a job, you are not in the business of helping people the way that you think. Because a lot of people, when they are starting out their business, they think that beginners think help equals discounts and favors. Advance, no, that first you'd help yourself. So a lot of people they hear these companies and like the companies give them like a violin story, and then they're like, oh my gosh, our company's not doing well. We were here 5 years ago, and like before we are doing like $10 million a year, but now things have really turned around for the worse, and we're only doing $2 million a year. Can you really work for us for $10 a year? And then like, oh, I want to help them, and I got in this business to help businesses, and I really want to help them do. No, 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 not at the expense of yourself in the beginning. Now, again, I'm not saying you don't want to help people. It's just that the way that people think help is in the beginning is oftentimes them just getting taken advantage of. It's not really that you're helping people, it's you're getting taken advantage of. Okay. Help yourself first. Kind of like being on an airplane, whether like whenever you're on the airplane, just in case, I hope you've had the opportunity to be on an airplane. If you have not been on an airplane, maybe one day take a trip. Maybe if we work together, you can get to this point to where you can be able to start going on trips very consistently. But yeah, they always say when they're giving the demonstration of like how to put on this gas mask. So just in case of the plane being an emergency, right? They give this presentation beginning where they show you how to utilize some like the life-saving equipment on the plane, right? So a breathing mask. So what they say is oftentimes in the past, parents would go and try and put on the breathing mask of their children first. And because they want to save their children, right? That's like innate in everyone, right? They want to help their children out, they want to help their family. But what was happening was the time it would take to put the mask on your child, in a lot of cases, the parents were actually passing out because of lack of oxygen. So what they say is, if you're the parent, put on your mask first because that's going to give you more time to be able to then put focus on your child. And that causes a lot less related deaths, injuries, or just trouble in the case of an emergency. So it's the same thing inside of your business. Cool. Awesome. So let's go. I'm going to put this as like part number one. I do have to get going. Very cool. So this has been like the behind the scenes of like part number one. I'm gonna probably put this video out in a couple of days after I like fully finish it out. Yeah, awesome. I will talk to you soon. Also, if you want some help growing your business, like maybe like thinking about a lot of this stuff, it's just like even with this 15-minute video that we've done so far on just one specific point, you're like, bro, there's so much stuff I just don't know, or there's just so many things that could stop me from reaching my goals. And if you felt that if you had someone that could help you along the way and pull you by the hand and take you hand in hand to your goal, if you think there's some value in that, click the link inside the description below this video. Book a call with me. Let's see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program, okay? I will talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy.